School's back in session, and you know what that means. Long hours of rehearsal, marching band, and the resurgence of annoying insecurity in which you question if you are genuinely bad at your instrument or if your chops are just shot, but you can't afford to stop practicing, so you work yourself into an overuse injury. What's up, guys? My name is Freddy, and I play trumpet with the Lakes Brass Quintet, and I'm a trumpet teacher here in Nashville. And today I want to share with you a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is brass injuries. But first, on behalf of the Lakes Brass Quintet, I would like to thank you guys for getting us to over 3,000 subscribers here on YouTube. What started as just a group of friends just playing music after we graduated school has turned into something way more exciting than we could have ever dreamed of, and it's all thanks to you guys. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. We try to post weekly videos, and we create everything from video essays like this to live recordings from our concerts, and even a monthly recording project. This month we did a recording of my arrangement of Pirates of the Caribbean for Brass Quintet, and the scuttlebutt is that next month we're going to be ruffling the feathers of Nintendo's legal department. Wouldn't be the first time. With that out of the way, let's save your chops. There are a lot of injuries that brass players can sustain from practicing way too much. But for the purpose of today's video, I want to focus on the warning signs that you're pushing yourself too hard on your instrument, as well as some of the treatments and steps you can take to get back on track. Let's start with the most common injury that I guarantee every brass player has felt at some point: delayed onset muscle soreness. If you've ever done any kind of strength training, then you've experienced delayed onset muscle soreness. Can't walk the morning after leg day? DOMS. Can't lift your arms after working your shoulders? DOMS. What is delayed onset muscle soreness? Basically, when we work our muscles to exhaustion, we make micro tears in the muscle tissue. These tears cause inflammation, which leads to your muscles feeling sore. Now, there's a common misconception that this soreness is caused by lactic acid, which is a byproduct of cells burning carbohydrates for energy, and this lactic acid gets released into the muscle tissue. But actually, according to the Cleveland Clinic, this lactic acid gets flushed out of the muscle tissue fairly quickly, and the real cause of soreness are those muscle tears. Once these micro muscle tears heal, your muscles become bigger and stronger. Typically, as brass players, we experience delayed onset muscle soreness when we play longer than our body is used to playing. So for example, if you are a college student coming back for the fall semester but you barely practiced this summer, those first couple days your chops are going to feel sore and tired and unresponsive. And similarly, if you're a high school student and you didn't practice over the summer, those first days of band camp when you're marching are also going to feel pretty rough. Now, beyond the physical discomfort that we might experience in our embouchures, DOMS has a way of manifesting itself into our sound. The day after a heavy day of playing, you're going to feel like you have less endurance, less range, and less flexibility. Another telltale sign that you're experiencing some problems with your chops is if your pitch is tending super duper sharp and your tuning slide is way out further than it usually is. So what are we supposed to do when our chops start to make a turn for the worse? Well, in the world of sports science, athletes and trainers try to anticipate this tissue damage and focus on something that we musicians tend to neglect: an efficient recovery. Depending on the person, delayed onset muscle soreness can take anywhere between 3 and 5 days to clear up. But there are things that we can do to speed up this recovery time and get us back to optimal performance. The first thing you should be doing is a solid warm-up and cool-down routine. Now, this sounds obvious, but let me explain the pitfall that I usually find myself in on days where my chops feel kinda crummy. When I find myself in that downward spiral of diminishing returns, my chops consistently feel bad, and really I should just be taking it easy, I wind up rushing my warm-up to see how my high notes sound, as if that's some indicator of how my day on the horn is going to be. And this causes me to overanalyze why my high notes aren't working, when in reality it's just my muscles are fatigued, and if I had done a decent warm-up in the first place, I'd probably be sounding a whole lot better. So when I'm actually being smart, the goal of my warm-up is to make my lower register sound good. My new indicator for a good day on the horn is not that my high notes sound good, but that my lowest note sounds nice, open, and resonant. An exercise that I do to achieve this are the stamp exercises. You've probably heard them before. Once my low notes are feeling good, I'll switch from stamp to Chickowitz flow studies and work my way up to a G at the top of the staff. Once that G is feeling good, I'll go into some lip slur patterns to work on my flexibility, and as I'm getting looser and looser, I'll start to add more partials to my lip slur patterns. And after a focused and diligent warm-up, what I thought would be a horrible day of practicing is actually starting to sound and feel pretty good. It's also important after a long day of playing to not neglect a good cool down. I know the first thing you want to do after you've been playing for 3, 4, 5 hours is to just put the horn in the case. But those extra couple minutes focusing on your lower register are going to help bring blood back to your face and get that recovery started quicker. Now that's what you should do when you have the horn out and in your hands to work towards a good recovery. But what can we do after we are done playing to work towards an even better recovery? A great way to apply some compression to those embouchure muscles, break up metabolic waste, and get blood flowing back to your chops is through intra-oral massage. I hope you wash your hands, because we're going to massage our faces from the inside. Now, what's great about doing intra-oral massage is you can target the exact muscle groups you're trying to get to relax. When I'm doing this, I have 4 main points of tension that I'm trying to work out. First, I have the orbicularis oris, which is the muscle that surrounds the upper and lower lip. After a long day of playing, the corners of my mouth start to feel super tight and almost like muscle knots. So with my thumb in my mouth and my pointer finger on the outside, I apply gentle, melting pressure to those corners to help them relax. The next area that I'm going to try to get to relax are my cheek muscles, or my buccinators. Just as I did with my corners, I will move further back into my mouth and apply gentle, melting pressure to my buccinators. And if I move even further back, I can massage the masseter, or jaw muscles. My jaw tends to get tight as a means of compensating for the rest of my chops getting tired, and this causes me to get knots at key trigger points in the masseter. The final place that I'll massage is the base of my tongue. If I'd been working on a lot of articulation, or if I was working on holding my tongue nice and high in my mouth for the upper register, I tend to feel the base of my tongue tense up. I can relieve some of this tension by massaging the tissue at the base of my tongue with my pointer finger. Experiment with massaging in the center, the left side, and the right side of the tongue to find those points of tension. There's a lot of debate among athletes and trainers as to whether you should use heat or ice when trying to recover. So I'll just give you my opinion on some things that I've been experimenting with. Now, back in my college days, I'd get back to my dorm from a long day of practicing and I'd grab an ice pack or a heating pad and apply it directly to my face, usually on my upper lip, because that's where I thought all the problems were, totally neglecting all the other muscles that make up my embouchure. But lately, I've been experimenting with applying heat and ice from inside the mouth. Let me explain. For cooling, I fill my water bottle with ice water, mostly ice, some water. I'll take a small sip and push that water into one of the 4 quadrants of my mouth: my left cheek, right cheek, upper lip, bottom lip. I'll hold that water there for 10 seconds, swallow, and move on to the next quadrant. I'll typically use ice on days where I feel particularly beat up. It gives me an immediate relief and helps to get that inflammation down. On a regular day of practice, I've been using heat. And for this, I repeat the same process, but instead of ice water, I've been using warm peppermint tea. The heat helps activate blood flow, and the mint not only has a cooling sensation, but peppermint is actually an anti-inflammatory. You could also substitute the tea for salt water, which also has anti-inflammatory properties. Just don't drink the salt water. Or do. Live your life. The morning after a heavy day of playing, I like to start my day with some face stretches. First, I do an awkward kindergarten picture day smile. This really helps relieve some tension in my corners. Then, I'll do a fish face to loosen up my cheeks, a blowfish face to open up my jaw, and a monkey face to stretch my upper lip and my tongue. I'll also stretch my neck, back, and shoulders because even holding your instrument for a long time can create parasitic tension that eats away at your best sound. In addition to a solid warm-up and cool-down routine, intra-oral massage, heat and ice, stretching, you should also be drinking plenty of water and, yes, eating protein. I know playing the trumpet isn't exactly like squatting 400 pounds, but still, we are tearing down muscle tissue, and if we want that tissue to come back, we need protein to help our muscles build back better. Now, if you are genuinely following these steps and you are still struggling, you're probably heading towards a repetitive strain injury, and now it's time to rest. For me, if I'm feeling really shot, I try to take 2 whole days off of playing, and on my next day back, I try to take it super easy to reacclimate myself to playing. In more severe cases of repetitive strain injury, you might need to take a few weeks and even months to let the muscles heal properly. But Freddy, you say, I need to practice every day, and if I don't, I will never get better and my teacher will be mad at me. Well, let's look at Major League Baseball. In a game of Major League Baseball, a starting pitcher will throw approximately 100 pitches before the coach calls in a reliever. After pitching a game, said pitcher will immediately start the recovery process. Depending on the total number of pitches thrown, the pitcher will rest for anywhere between 3 and 5 days. In these days, the pitcher will undergo a series of stretching routines, low-impact movements, and depending on the philosophy of the trainers, hot or cold compresses. These are professional athletes. They recognize the amount of physical stress their bodies are under and take active steps to recovery so that they can come back stronger than they were before. And I think as musicians, especially brass musicians, we tend to lose sight of the fact that what we do, our craft, is physically demanding. And if we ignore what our bodies are trying to tell us when we are worn down, practicing more is only going to make things worse. So take care of yourself. Take the extra steps to maintain your health as a brass player. You'll be surprised with the amount of progress that you'll be able to make if you treat your body well. So for God's sake, get some rest. And maybe, while you're resting, you listen to some fun, quirky brass quintet arrangements from your new favorite brass quintet. I'm just saying, it's right there. Might as well click on it. You know. How's that for a call to action, algorithm?